Roadmap. If you're in your second or third year, whether you belong to a tier 1, tier 2, or even a tier 69 college, everyone wants that one damn job. Even I did. But when I started my preparation, I was completely confused watching multiple roadmaps from YouTubers. They were all correct in their own ways, but I just couldn't relate to them. And I barely had 3 months before placements. On top of that, I was too lazy to follow everything they suggested. For a while, it felt really hard. But after attending multiple interviews and writing several assessments, I realized something. There are some things you need to focus on deeply and some things that don't need much attention. If you are going through this journey, finding that balance is the most important part. If someone like my seniors had explained it to me this way, it would have been much easier to approach the placements right from the beginning. I used to think that if I had known this in my second year, I would have landed an internship, got a PPO, and spent my fourth year relaxed. But that didn't happen, and that's okay. So I don't want you to repeat the same mistake. I mean, learning from others' mistakes is always better than making them yourself. So without any delay, let's start with DSA. I started with Striver, but it's not about who you follow, it's about how consistently you practice. Try to solve at least 3 problems a day, especially when you don't have much time. And honestly, I used to feel scared when my friends were solving problems on LeetCode. I mean, I understood the concepts, understood the algorithms, but when it comes to actually writing the code, I just couldn't do it. But after days of practice, I slowly got used to it. And if you are in that phase right now, don't worry, everyone goes through it. So how should you tackle DSA? Start with the basics: arrays, strings, linked lists, binary search, and recursion. Take your time with this because this is the foundation for advanced topics like trees, graphs, and dynamic programming. Especially recursion, I used to get so confused with it. Even if you are just average at advanced topics, you can still land a 10 plus LPA job. And if you are strong in advanced DSA, 20 plus LPA becomes much more achievable. One important thing I noticed, in online assessments, they give really tough problems. Most of the time, I could only solve 2 out of 3. But when I went for interviews for the same company, they asked very basic questions. Why? Because in interviews, they don't have much time just for DSA. They have to test you on multiple things. So they give small problems to understand your thinking process. And one more thing, this is very important. While writing code, explain what you are doing. They judge you based on your approach and communication. Always start with the brute force solution. Don't jump directly to the optimized one. They want to see how you think, how you approach the problem, how you improve your solution. That's it for DSA. And remember, DSA gets you shortlisted. It doesn't get you placed. So don't do DSA alone. You also need to cover other things. And that's where we move to our second important topic, CSE core subjects. Because when you walk into an interview, the first question isn't DSA. It's something like, explain polymorphism with a real life example, and suddenly you're stuck. Oops. DBMS, OS, CN, your programming language, and even the basics of AI. These are main things you need to focus on. Honestly, there is nothing fancy here. I simply watched videos, made notes, revised them, and then started practicing interview questions from Geeks for Geeks. There are standard questions from these topics, and you just need to cover those. Nothing more than that. But for SQL, I'd strongly recommend practicing problems from the LeetCode SQL 50 list. It's very important, and it doesn't take much time to get comfortable with it. If you are targeting top tier companies or MANG, then you should also add basic system designs to your preparation. And let me tell you something that really stuck with me. I had a friend, his name is Ashok. He didn't get placed until December. Out of fear, he started preparing for GATE and went really deep into computer networks. His GATE exam went average and he even failed 2 more interviews after that. But in the next interview, they asked him computer networks for almost 30 minutes out of a 50-minute interview. And do you know what offer he got? 20 LPA. You never know what will show up. Something you might study today might not help immediately, but it will show up when it matters the most. So don't just by heart definitions and concepts, understand them. Who knows, that might be the reason you crack your next interview. And when I think about interviews, the first thing that comes to my mind is, and this is where most people mess up badly, your resume gets scanned for about 45 seconds before the interview starts. And then for the next 30 minutes, everything comes from it. So whatever you put there, you need to own it completely. So what should your resume contain? Let's start with projects. They matter a lot, but don't over-invest time in them. I have seen a friend with a very basic project, like a movie rating system, get placed before someone with an insane AI project. Because the project itself isn't the point. The real question is, do you understand what you build? Can you explain it clearly under the pressure? That's it. They don't care if you took help from AI or cloned it from GitHub, as long as you can explain it like it's truly yours. Along with projects, be ready for questions around your CGPA. If it's low, be ready to explain why. If it's high, especially for a non-CSE branch, be ready to explain why you are not going into core. You need answers for both. You can mention internships, certifications. If you have attended any hackathons, you can mention those too. Tools like Git, VS Code, positions of responsibility, like your role in a college fest. And even if you feel like you haven't done much, you still need to be ready for questions like, what's the most difficult situation you faced while organizing the fest, and how did you handle it? Yeah, that's how it works. One more thing, have multiple versions of your resume. For example, one for STE roles, one for data science roles. Because even small changes in how you present your projects can make a huge difference. And avoid generic lines like team coordination or time management. Everyone writes that and no one gives a fuck about that. And if possible, keep your resume to one page. Make it look full, structured and intentional. Because at the end of the day, your resume sets the stage and your ability to defend it decides everything. And how do you defend your resume? By communicating well. You don't need fancy vocabulary, you don't need to sound like a TEDx speaker. The interviewer just needs to understand you clearly. That's it. Let me tell you a small story. There was this interview and the interviewer asked me a question.
Okay, Manor, so what is linked list?
I answered it. Then he asked a follow-up question.
So how do you use linked list in real life?
While trying to confirm it, instead of saying, that's your question, right? I looked at him and said, so do you ask me how do you use linked list in real life examples? Is that a question, sir?
Yeah, it's a question.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
And trust me, small things like this matter more than you think. Some of my friends even got terminated from a campus drive just because they said the wrong things. Like telling the interviewer he wasn't interested in the role because he planned to pursue higher studies. So don't be like me or them. Just stay aware of what you are saying. A few more things you need to keep in mind. Aptitude. Every online assessment has it, and people miss out on even 40 LPA jobs just because they mess it up. So don't take it lightly. Puzzles. Some companies will ask them, and trust me, it's very hard to solve puzzles on the spot if you are not prepared. So practice standard ones from Geeks for Geeks. Which are questions? You can use tools like ChatGPT to prepare company-specific answers like, why do you want to join this company? For common questions like, what are your strengths? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Prepare a standard answer so you can confidently reuse it across interviews. And that's pretty much it. 4 things. DSA, core subjects, resume, communication. You don't need to be perfect in everything. You just need to be good enough in all of them. And honestly, this whole placement journey has its highs and lows. You win some, you lose some. But that's part of it. So don't feel bad about the interviews that didn't work out. Be glad you went through them because they are the reason you'll get the one that does. So don't lose hope, stay consistent, be confident. Because that's the only thing you control. The rest will fall into place.
Yeah, you'll be just fine. The crap, moved to the country, down by the riverside.